When you think of Warhammer 40k, you think of death, blood, and utter carnage. And it's odd to imagine any of those words being used to describe a tabletop game, if you exclude the players around the table, that is. Slithering Games are back at it, teaming up with the trusted developers of Battlestar Galactica Gridlock, Black Lab Games, in an effort to bring the household tabletop game to life, while aiming to respect the turn-based elements the franchise is so famous for. Since the great success of real-time strategy game Dawn of War, and arguably even before that, Warhammer 40k video games have been very, very fashionable within the industry. Just over the last 10 years there's been almost 40 40k titles. With the creation of so many video games based on the 40k franchise, the inevitable trust issues have followed closely in its wake. Nobody can dispute against the fact that a number of these titles have simply fallen well below the line in terms of video game standards. This isn't Slithering Games' first rodeo in dealing with 40k, and during my time covering their games, I've always found them to only sign off games of the highest quality. Warhammer 40k Gladius being a good example of this, reaching an overall Steam rating of 9 out of 10. So, without further ado, let's get into what we can expect from Warhammer 40k Battlesector.
I could not hide my conflict while I gave Matano my assessment. I have no doubt now that something of Sanguinius exists within these Primaris. But they move through a world not yet scaled for them. A universe not yet ready for their weight. They would have been in their prime had they been here days earlier, when the hordes of Xenos were infinite and unrelenting. Now, they clean up remnants, taking steps that once belonged to my lost brothers. They look like children playing at guardsmen. The significance of Pentasio's death was lost on the novice priest, but Matano understood the threat immediately. If a synaptic leader still lives on Balfora, then it has remained undetected all this time. A threat left to fester. For that reason, the captain has sent me to scour the Heaven Wall. The range is bewildering to the new recruits. A maze of shock-riven valleys and impenetrable mountain trails. With only a fraction of cunning, a tyrannid beast could lurk here undetected for generations. And then, violently. My vox screams static. Over a century's worth of instinct propels me towards the explosion. My orders are followed immediately, the rest of the detachment on my heels without question. Balfora holds surprises for us yet, brothers.
When it was brought to my attention that the beta was to include only 2 of the possible 20 missions the story was due to contain, I pictured it as being a short demo. Boy was I wrong. 2 hours later and I was still at it, grinding down swarms of seemingly never-ending Tyrannid units as I pushed towards the objectives. Each mission falling just shy of an hour for me to complete. If that's anything to go by, we can expect the campaign to pan out over a decent length. Play through a narrative-focused range of missions, complete with cutscenes, voice-over dialogues, and unique story characters. Missions have varied objectives such as activating relays, protecting units, collecting sacred items, or straight up wiping out all opposition. The base game comes with the Age of Crimson Dawn campaign, set in the aftermath of the devastation of Baal, with the player controlling the Blood Angel Space Marines against Tyranids of Hive Fleet Leviathan. The campaign takes place mere days after the devastation of Baal, when the Blood Angels fought for their very survival against the Hive Fleet Leviathan on their homeworld Baal. Sergeant Carleon of the 8th Company tests the skills and stability of the new Primaris Space Marines, brought to Baal Secundus by Rabute Gilliman's Indomitus Crusade. The game looks to hold on to the army building aspect that plays a large part of the 40k magic, taking heavily customised Blood Angel units into combat as you fight your Tyrannid enemies on the Blood Angel homeworld of Baal. Though this aspect of the game wasn't included in the game's beta, it would appear from the trailer that it is set to run on a point system similar to that of the tabletop game. The combat, although comparable to the style of XCOM, is very unique in its design. Integrated is a momentum point system, where units gain said momentum by staying in the thick of the fight. The higher the momentum, the more potent in combat that unit becomes, respectively losing momentum as time passes while out of combat. Using momentum, mixed with killing enemy units and completing objectives, adds to the commander's command points. Max the command points bar and you get to bring support from the skies, similar to an ultimate system among other titles. In the case of Sergeant Carleon, I was able to call in a strafing run that had enough firepower to heavily wound 4 enemy units with its heavy armour piercing rounds, assuming they were all stood relatively single file from one another anyway. It'd be great to see what other commands are going to be available, taking advantage of the full arsenal that the Blood Angel famously have available, and, well, everyone prefers boom boom to pew pew. Speaking of boom boom, there is nothing quite as satisfactory as watching an aggressor unit fire a Fragstorm grenade launcher round into the middle of a Hormigaunt unit. The well-made explosion aesthetics, combined with the sounds of is an experience that any psychopath would give a thumbs up. The Hormigaunt ASMR experience doesn't stop there either. It's fun to see even the standardised intercessor units have the capability to clear out entire units of Tyranids with just a grenade.
Throwing grenade!
Anyway, getting the preview back on track. The game also has an added Overwatch system, allowing you to assign units to watch over certain choke points and areas of access that could lead to your front lines being compromised. When Overwatch is selected and a targeted area highlighted, the assigned unit will open fire on any enemies moving into the vicinity out of turn. This also has a chance to suppress the enemy, hindering their movement. If gunfights aren't really your cup of tea and you want to go chainsword first into this Tyranid Zerg, then the combat system has a whole dynamic of its own. When you enter melee combat with a unit, they are engaged and locked into the combat. Each time you will attack in melee, the enemy unit will strike back in the same turn. Except when you're doing charges. If you have an uninterrupted straight line of movement to an enemy unit, you can charge them, attacking them in melee with a bonus and without giving them the chance to strike back.
No right to live!
Warhammer 40k Battlesector is currently scheduled for release some point in May, with the exact release date currently not public knowledge. I'm definitely going to be keeping close eyes on Battlesector over the coming weeks and hotly anticipate that this will be a 40k game that delivers. If you're interested in seeing our complete, unedited gameplay footage that I've been using in this preview, be sure to subscribe and follow, as over the coming days I'll be uploading them to this YouTube channel. Also be sure to check out our website, www.airentertainment.biz, for all the latest in video game news. From AAA titles to small indie games, we have it all covered. A link will be in the description, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Taking fire!